Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you all for tuning in to your daily dose of donkey with Ginger. I am once again joined by the one and only Mutant Ginger.
Mutant Gingy in the house. What up, folks?
Oh, so we're here to talk about season end, Super Bowl, and Tom Brady.
Brady coming through with a number one. Number seven. Is that correct, Mr. Donkey?
That is, dude, more than the Steelers. Think about that.
Oof. Well, more than everybody.
Oh
More than
my.
everybody. It's a
So
goat
so
time.
so so as a former it's more Belichick than Brady guy there, Gingy. You want to change your mind a little bit?
Nope. I'm okay. And let me
I
tell you
love it.
what.
Sticking to the guns.
Well, let me tell you what. Okay. Still Belichick than Brady. If you go and if you put Cam Newton as a starting quarterback in Tampa Bay, they don't win the Super Bowl. All right. I'm telling you, there's still Tom Brady got dropped into an ideal situation. I'm not saying that Tom Brady ain't the GOAT, but what I am saying is that he's vulnerable. He's beatable. But this year, stacked defense, brought in a lot of returning veterans at low cost, a lot of ring chasing, a lot of people doing a lot of ring chasing now with Tommy Boy. Willing to take cuts, willing to take things that, if you weren't that guy, you ain't willing to take. You ain't willing to take that cut for Ryan Tannehill to play with him. You know what I'm saying? You're willing to take that
Right.
cut for Tom Brady, and that puts him in a very unique situation, and he'll go down in all time. As the greats. But I stand by my guns, Donkey. Football is a team game, and it is.
It is, but I've never seen a single person more influential to an outcome of a football game than that man. I mean, my wife kept looking at me and she's like, "Well, Patrick Mahomes comes back, the Chiefs come back." I'm like, "That's Tom Brady, okay? You don't come
Yeah.
back on Tom Brady. You
Tom
don't
Brady
give
comes
30
back on
points to
you.
Tom Brady." And I I am a Buccaneers fan. They've always been actually, for a little bit of my life, they were my favorite team as I was a little child, but they've always been at least my second favorite team. I started to grow more and more into a Steelers fan, and they probably became my favorite around high school time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in Northwest Pennsylvania, that's the way it is. I've always loved the Bucks, way back to Brad Johnson leading to the Super Bowl. Sean King was one of my favorite quarterbacks growing up. I loved Warwick Dunn, Mike Allstott, watching them back in the Super Bowl. Honestly, back in the playoffs for like the first time since 2002, it feels like. Watching them win that Super Bowl is fun, but that first touchdown pass he threw to Gronk, I cheered, jumped up and cheered, and I was like, "That's weird. Is that okay that I just did that? Like, I felt dirty
For the
doing
record,
that, right?"
no, it wasn't, and yes, you are. We'll go with that.
That's fair. Uh, some other things in that game. I felt like I told you that Bucks defense, that defensive line. I thought, and Dominican Sue did have a big game.
Yeah,
I told you I thought that was going to come through.
yeah.
I can't believe the way they shut down those receivers though till the game didn't matter. And in a loss, Patty Mahomes proved to me he has the best arm talent I've ever seen. No offense, Aaron Rodgers, but this dude spun in a circle, hit a guy on the corner route in the hands. Okay, this dude's throwing the ball like he's a shortstop, parallel to the ground, throws the ball 35 yards and hits a guy in the face mask.
Yep,
Are,
that was
are
probably
you serious with
my
this?
jaw
Like, I don't
dropped.
need to discuss what Tom Brady does, but that arm talent on Patrick Mahomes, man, woo.
That throw that you described, Donkey, with the shortstop throw, my jaw literally dropped. It's like, what? Okay, it hit him right in the face. It hit him right in the face. And one of the biggest things that I said about the Chiefs all year that you and me have agreed on in the past is that Chiefs are one of those teams that make those big plays. They don't make all the plays, but they make the right plays. And in this game,
Right.
those plays that they looked like they were going to make, that the ball that bounced off Tyreek Hill's face mask, the shortstop throw that was almost completed, those typically get made, and you see what happens when they don't. It looks like Patrick Mahomes was getting frustrated. He had pressure up the middle all day. He had to do all types of heroics just to not get sacked or have to put the
He
ball in the
ran
dirt.
he ran for like 500 yards before throwing the ball.
That was really their only
That's
offense during the
nuts.
entirety of the first quarter. Was Patrick Mahomes picking up a couple first downs with his legs, and aside
Hmm.
from that, there was that Chiefs
And Chiefs
offense.
fans,
Jeez.
I'm scared for Chiefs fans, dude. Think about it. This year, Mahomes wasn't even getting paid. What does that roster around him look like when he gets paid? Are we talking Green Bay Aaron Rodgers?
Well, we're gonna have to look at some good GM work there in Kansas City.
I
They're
mean,
gonna need it.
and I'm so happy for Bruce Arians. I'm so happy for that whole coaching staff. I mean, Todd Bowles had a rough run in the Jets where he really wasn't allowed to do his thing because the Jets are the Jets. It's good to see him back out there winning. I loved seeing Byron Leftwich, offensive coordinate, out there, man. That was
Woo!
what. I have such respect for Byron Leftwich. That dude is such a tough man. I mean, from
Yeah,
getting carried at Marshall, right, with a
yeah,
broken leg, like, nah, y'all carry me down there. I'm gonna throw the ball again. To just him being the most, I broke my arm kind of the way he did when he was with the Steelers, but that dude's like the most nonchalant about just whatever, dude. My arm broke. Like, come
yeah,
on.
yeah. He's awesome.
Byron Leftwich, man, what a tough dude. I was just so happy to see him, Arians, and I know this is gonna piss a lot of people off, but seeing Antonio Brown get one made me kind of happy because that dude gave nothing but his all. I mean, he's a terrible person. He's a crappy person. I'm not going to argue that. But what he gave to the Steelers when he was here, I was happy for him to get it and happy that it didn't go to Le'Veon Bell if I had to put the two head to head, you know?
Mm, okay, fair enough there. No disagreements. But yeah, I don't know. So that was kind of it. There wasn't much suspense. There wasn't a ton of drama. There was one team that outplayed the other team for the vast majority of the football game, and then there was a lackluster halftime show. Goodbye 2021 season.
As we said beforehand, my favorite thing was the meme I saw afterwards. That was the Wish meme. When you order from Wish, and it showed Bruno Mars as the thing you think you're getting, and The Weeknd as the thing you get. And don't get me wrong, I like Blinding Lights. I'm not a huge fan of The Weeknd's music, but I like the song Blinding Lights. I thought he did an okay job. I mean, I thought it was well choreographed. I thought there was some really cool stuff into it. It wasn't a terrible one, I can say that. Because there have been some terrible ones, man. But that doesn't go up as terrible. It doesn't go down as great. I mean, I'm not going to remember it like J-Lo and Shakira shaking their butts at each other. But
Mm.
I am what I am. And that's just a man that enjoys, apparently, butt shaking.
I will go. It will go with that. It's it's definitely not right shark, left shark, donkey. There's something else there. But we'll see. I mean, what do you think? Do you think Tampa's putting it together for another run here? What's after the boat parade
that
now? I want to hear about Tampa in another run too, but I want to hear about this boat parade. Right? Did you
I
see
don't
anything about the
know,
boat parade?
but throwing Lombardi trophies across boats, looking like you're absolutely drunk off avocado tequila or whatever the hell they were saying it was. I
Yo,
mean, bro, that looked like a good time. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not a
yo,
huge
they're
fan of the whole boat parade idea, but that looked like a good time. If it's all about just day drinking, I'm down.
partying their ass off.
I mean, you won the Super Bowl. Why not? Think of, and I told you this before. Think of all those people that have been on that team that were big time veterans, like Cameron Brate, the guy who I believe got the Super Bowl trophy thrown to him.
Yep.
And um, you you got to do it. They had a good time. I'm happy for them. I couldn't be. That's the team I wanted to see get it if it wasn't the Steelers. So I can't be more happy for them. Good to see it, and I do think they will come back. That team is stacked. That team is loaded. That team is young. And the thing is, you have to think about it. The veterans who are there, Gronk don't care about money. AB's not playing for money at this point. I mean, you can keep it together. And the best part is, they have the most humble superstar I've ever seen. Did you hear what Mike Evans said, like, literally right after the Super Bowl?
Mm,
Super big superstar receiver goes, if you need me to give up money to keep this team together, I'll do it.
yeah.
That's
Well, we'll
that's the type
see.
of guy you need.
We'll see on
Great
that.
talent with the will to win.
We'll see on that big money thing. Saying that is one thing, and seeing that
He
through
already
is
got his
another.
huge
But
signing
kudos,
bonus, and he's
ku-
probably like, I don't need it.
kudos, and congratulations to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and salutations and conciliatory prizes are in order for the Kansas City Chiefs. Both teams had a hell of a season, and I'm just
Hmm.
glad we made it to the end without any. I mean, we had some rescheduling, donkey. Before you and I were talking in the summer, is this even going to happen? And then they
Yep.
made it happen, and they played a Super Bowl, and they did their thing. It wasn't without trial and tribulation, but overall, I'm pleased with the entertainment value that I got from the 2021 season.
It was a great season. Good cap to the season. Wish it was a more competitive game. I thought it was going to be, but that Bucks team's
Yeah.
just. And say what you want. I think what was it? They won their last 8 or 9 games or something ridiculous. Like once that team actually gelled, because you have to think they didn't have a training camp, they haven't any of that. Once that team actually gelled, they were the best team in football. Like
Yeah, they just
it
got
is
better
what
as
it
the
is,
season
and
went on.
you're led by the greatest player out there. You have, and I said this. What's funny is when everyone's talking at the beginning of last year and they're like, "Is Brady gonna come back to New England?" I go to my wife and I go, "The smartest decision he could make is go to Tampa Bay. That team is loaded on offense, has a great coach in Bruce Arians, who is an offensive mind, and it's close enough to Miami that Giselle will let him go. Because let's be honest, she wasn't going to let him go to frickin' Detroit or something like that in the middle of nowhere. You had to pick a town that's near a model hub. So you had to please Giselle. And if you're talking about that, the best choice was Tampa. Because otherwise, you're talking one of those crappy LA teams. No
Mm,
offense to either of you. And Aaron Donald,
ouch.
I love you on the Rams, but
Ouch.
they're on the decline.
Ouch. Crappy LA teams. Oy.
Yeah, and I only say that because I feel the Rams are on the decline, and I don't know about the Chargers rebuild. I love Herbert, but I don't know about it. And to be fair, they're always going to be in my mind as Philip Rivers' team, which means they're always just going to be a little bit inconsequential.
Ouch. Also a very harsh word, but we'll go with it. I like it, donkey.
Anything you wanted to touch base on today? Oh, I almost turned into the
Oh
Care Bear guy.
boy, now we're looking at the off season, and here comes the swirling rumors and the blase blah, all the way till May, donkey. This week,
Ben, please retire.
this week didn't disappoint with continuing fodder for the inquiring minds of future rosters. Marquise Pouncey, beloved Steeler veteran, has seen better days. Definitely peaked, a few years ago, but overall has been a really good follow up. And shadows of Demonte Dawson linger in the '90s, and those are some tough shoes to
Great,
fill. And
great center,
and he
potential Hall of
did
Famer.
he did a good job continuing to make that position, a legacy position in the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I hope whoever follows him continues in that same tradition. Shout out to Marquise
Hmm.
Pouncey. Thanks
Good
for
center,
every.
potential Hall of Famer. Great career. Unfortunately, lackluster play last 3 years and unfortunate final game. I mean, he's been bad with snaps the last 3 years. His rating's gone down. I believe he was the worst rated starting center last year by PFF, and you can see it. The team hasn't been as good recently. He's slacking just a little bit, and I think it was the right time for him to do it. Unfortunate that he had to be the dude to snap it over the head to start the last game of his career. Like
Mm,
that's because his play had been diminishing, but it hadn't been to a point where it was really the thing. Like you could say it was a contributing factor to the Steelers not being successful, but oh man, did it rear its head so bad in the last game. And I feel so bad for the dude because he had such a great career. And luckily, it seems like Steeler Nation isn't going to sour on him. It sounded like a lot wanted him back, but he did the right thing for him, the right thing for his family, and did it at the right time, in my opinion. Ben, take a note. And
here you
just
go.
just we've lost really class act players this
We're
year. I mean,
trying to give a shout
Pouncey's
out
gone,
to a great Steelers legend,
McDonald's
and you
gone.
gotta kick Ben in the nuts. I hear you, don't.
I'm not kicking him in the nuts. This is the Steelers' fault for the cap hell we're in. But Ben, no offense, help us out.
Goodness gracious. What other?
This is all Colbert and Kahn and all those geniuses' problem. I mean, you don't just keep kicking the can down the road and never expect it to come due. But they do.
What other do we got floating around this week? We've got all these rumors surrounding J.J. Watt. For those who don't know, J.J. Watt released Texans and let the rumors fly as to where he might land next. Everybody wants to see him in Pittsburgh with TJ, and maybe I'm a sourpuss donkey, but a 32-year-old guy with injury problems the last 2 to 3 years is not someone I'm going to want to overextend the reach for.
I hear you, but he said it's not about money, and if it's not about money, you're talking if we could get him on a vet minimum deal, that's cool. And I have a fun circumstance that I'll bring up later where I could see even signing him somewhere in the range of $5 million.
Oh boy. Well, I'll be interested to hear that.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. He's a depth piece at a position that doesn't make sense to me right now because veteran depth is expensive in the NFL now due to the new CBA. And a veteran depth piece on a defensive line that already has depth makes no sense. And if people want to say, well, he could play outside linebacker, oh, please just no. He's
not at this age.
Good defensive
not at this
end.
age. He's not playing outside linebacker.
He's a good defensive end now. He's not defensive player of the year. J.J. Watt. He's not that same guy. He doesn't have that same burst. I mean, he's one of those veterans that it's hard to say goodbye to, but the Texans made the smart move because they owed him way more money than he should be getting paid. And I don't know what they're doing with Deshaun Watson there. It sounds like they're trying to keep him, trying to sell him. I have no idea, but that's a team that's at that low. You need to just push the button and reset it. And I like what they started. And honestly, I wouldn't be upset with him at the Steelers on a couple circumstances.
Texans are a fucking mess, donkey.
That's what happens when you let Bill O'Brien manage everything for a while. That was the dumbest thing I ever saw is when they let him become GM. I'm like, you literally just blew up your whole organization to appease a guy who's not a very good head coach. Not a bad one, but definitely not a good one.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend like he didn't win some football games, because he did, and there's been plenty of coaches who haven't even won football games, so.
I hear you.
Can bash on him a lot, but he wasn't the worst coach I've ever seen, so I'll give him that. I don't know. Anything else we got out there in the news world that piqued your interest?
Not really. I'm excited to, get into this off season and see how it all shakes out, man.
Speaking of off seasons, I'd like to tell you what my plan is for the Steelers' moves, what I feel they should do.
Oh boy. Okay, let's hear it.
So, first I got to premise this with I want to bring up a point about NFL quarterbacks and how do you agree that's a position that you have to address early in the draft based off talent level of NFL quarterbacks? Like, what if I told you 23 of the 32 or 72% of NFL starting quarterbacks were drafted in the first round?
Okay.
All right, what if I was to tell you every quarterback in the AFC who made the playoffs was a first-round draft pick?
Yeah, I'd buy that.
What if I was to tell you all but 3 quarterbacks in the NFC who made the playoffs was a first-round draft pick, and one of those who wasn't was the first pick of the second round, which was 32 overall at the time, and he was the second quarterback taken, I believe, that year in Drew Brees. And the other one's Tom Goat Brady, and, of course, Russell Wilson.
Wow, that's interesting.
What if I was going to tell you that 23 of the 32 NFL quarterbacks were drafted by the team they play on?
23 of the 32 drafted by the team they play on.
Correct. Okay. 9 of the 14 playoff quarterbacks were drafted by the team they play on.
Yeah, so it seems, statistically speaking, roughly, 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3 times, you're finding this via draft capital first round pick. Or is that what
Yeah,
you're saying to
that's
me?
what I'm trying to say. What if I was to tell you that it seems you have to draft a quarterback in the first round to be successful? So I thought I'd be like, is that really true? Let's look at the last 5 drafts because maybe these are all just old guys, right?
Mm,
Okay,
let's hear it.
2020 draft. There are 4 quarterbacks taken in the first round, 3 already starters. 9 other quarterbacks were taken, and you could say maybe one's a starter. I'm calling them starters based off if they started the majority or was like the go-to starter for the 2020 team, right? Not like an injury starter, but so not Andy Dalton over Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is clearly Dallas' starter, right? So the one you could maybe argue is Jalen Hurts, who was a second-round pick, the first quarterback not taken in the first round. What if I said in 2019, 3 quarterbacks were taken, 2 of which are starters, 1 which got cut and is now on the Steelers. So maybe we did get our first round draft pick quarterback, right? Maybe?
We wish.
And then the rest of 2019, there was 8 other quarterbacks taken, 2 of which I'll call starters. Drew Lock in the second round, and 6th round pick. Do you know who that happens to be? He has a great mustache, plays in Jacksonville.
Minshew mania.
Gardner Minshew is the other one. Now let's go to 2018. 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round. 4 are current starters. 1's on like his 3rd team in Josh Rosen. 3 of which made the playoffs and accounted for 3/4 of the remaining teams in the AFC this year. There were 8 other quarterbacks taken in 2018. Not a single one's a starter. We go to 2017. You have 3 quarterbacks, all current starters, 2 which made the playoffs. Do you know the 2017 quarterbacks? Because that's kind of a fun year.
2017.
If you name me all 3, I'll be impressed. Because I always forget. The first one taken, by the way, led his team to the playoffs this year, Mitchell Trubisky. Bro.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be Trubisky, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson. No other quarterback in that draft is a current starter. I mean, you could argue maybe CJ Beathard, but no. But there are some fun names in that. Nathan Peterman, guys who started. Josh Dobbs. There are some fun ones in that. And then 2016, we have 3 first-round quarterbacks, 2 of which were starters this year. 1 made the playoffs, and 1's out of the league, kind of in Paxton Lynch. But ironically, this is where the first quarterbacks with team changes might happen. Outside of Haskins coming to us and Rosen, who hasn't played. But starter team changes happen because Jared Goff has since been traded and Carson Wentz is alleged to be traded soon.
Indianapolis Colts.
That's a big rumor. And there was 11 other quarterbacks taken that year, only 1 starter. That would be Dak Prescott. Although Jacoby Brissett started for a little while, so did Christian Hackenberg, but no real of essence starters outside of maybe Dak Prescott. So you're talking in the last 5 years, you have roughly 15 first-round quarterbacks, 10 of which are starters, 5 or 6 of which have made the playoffs this year. But then look at the rest of the draft. The rest of the draft, you're talking probably 45 quarterbacks, and there's only 3-4 starters amongst the group. Of those 3-4 starters, by the way, none of them made the playoffs. So it looks like you have to put first-round capital in if you want to be successful. Because, okay, outside of Tom Brady, the GOAT-of-GOATs, leaving, look at quarterbacks who have went other places in the last 5 years. Like, who has been successful? You're talking Kirk Cousins signing a big deal with Minnesota. They go downhill. I guess you could say another one. If you want to sign a Twilight guy, Phillip Rivers can get you to the playoffs. Went to Indy, got him to the playoffs. You're talking... Who else signed a quarterback? The Panthers with Teddy Bridgewater, but that didn't work very well. The Patriots with Cam Newton, that didn't end very well. The Bears traded for Foles, and he was so good they had to re-bench him to get Trubisky back in. So it doesn't seem like the way to acquire a quarterback is anything but the draft based off the 2020 teams. Who knows? That might change with these big names that are being added, right? To the list, Deshaun Watson,
Right.
Wentz, Goff getting traded for Stafford. Who knows? That might change things. But based off the way it is, it looks like if you want to have a successful team, you have to spend early draft capital to get that guy. And I guess this is where some Steeler fans will be like, well, we took Dwayne Haskins. And if anyone ever really actually believes that that is the answer right now, would you like to buy some stock I got? It's called Donkey Stock. I'll sell it to you for $1,000 a pop. All it says is I'll give you a hug. I mean,
No.
Jeez Louise.
Pass on the donkey.
And
on
then,
the stock.
but I mean, how often has a team signed a quarterback and it been successful outside of Tom Brady? I mean, we could argue whether or not Rivers really was successful there. I mean, the Drew Brees thing, but that was like over a decade ago now that Drew Brees was signed somewhere else, and really he was only let go because his arm, no one knew if he was going to throw a pass again.
Kurt Warner.
There is one quarterback we could talk about, I guess. If you want to name him, you can.
Kurt Warner.
Or Kurt Warner, okay. The guy I was actually thinking is Ryan Tannehill. Left
Okay,
Miami, went to Tennessee, has been
Yeah.
pretty successful.
Yeah, that's
I'm
probably
trying
your
to
best.
keep recency here because recency is a big thing. So to me, when you look at this, if the Steelers want to do it, they have to be willing to start the rebuild now. And this gets me to what I would love to see happen this offseason. No offense to Ben, but I'd love to see Ben hang it up because that'd save us some money. And then I will go to the teams drafting 9, 10, 11, which I believe are, or maybe it's not, yeah, the Denver Broncos, Dallas Cowboys, New York Giants. Teams who I believe have their quarterback that they feel confident in and have some other glaring weaknesses that we could help them with. We go to them, and I don't want to give up our first round pick, so I say we give up our second round pick, our fourth round pick, and you get a pick from this litter. I would love it to be David DeCastro and Stephon Tuitt, added with a second and fourth round pick to move up to 9, 10, or 11 and draft someone like Mac Jones. Because you need to have that quarterback, it looks like, to be successful. And in this league, you need to draft that quarterback early. Because it does not seem the later rounds you're going to find anyone. You can get really lucky. 1 out of every 5 or 6 drafts, it seems, produces someone who is a capable starter outside of the first round. And most of them are taken early in the second round.
I don't disagree,
if I give up
Donkey.
Tuitt, that's a huge cap clear. I give up DeCastro, that's a big cap clear. And then I go to someone and I trade Joe Hayden or Steven Nelson, not really keen on either one. I don't care which one it is at this point. And I try to get back a third round pick. So essentially, you're giving up those 3 players, a second and a fourth to add a third and a first. I would love to see that done. And this is where J.J. Watt comes into play. Now you have an opening. Now you have a spot he can play. You sign him for about $5 million. Let him play that other defensive end. Let him rotate with Alualu and Hayward because we're pretty much playing a 2-down lineman set now all the time anyway. And let's see what happens. But I think we need to stop fiddling because the longer you fiddle, the worse it's going to be. Because look at this. What I'm going to point out again is these draft quarterbacks the last 5 years, the quarterback class from 3 years ago, 3 out of the 5 made the playoffs this year. The draft class from 2 years ago, none of them made the playoffs. And the draft class from this year, none of them made the playoffs. The draft class from 2016, one of them made the playoffs. One was out of the league. So 50% of them made the playoffs. Or no, wait. From 2007, I skipped one. 2 out of the 3 made the playoffs in that one. So you're talking at year 3, 4, 5 of your rookie quarterback is when you're looking to make the playoffs. Why the hell should we delay that one more year when we have the potential to get out of some big contracts this year, get a young quarterback? I wouldn't start him this year because I wouldn't trust the line. If the line shows they could play, maybe you start him 6, 7 games in. Why not get him, let him develop that first year, and be 1 year closer to that rebuild being done? And here's another thing. Maybe we're that quick team that gets into the playoffs, like Washington technically did with a second-year quarterback, although he got cut before they did, but he did start like half their games. Why not start it now? Rip off the Band-Aid and think of how much cap room we have if we don't try to go for it one more time with Ben. We will only have like $55 million in committed contracts next offseason. We could bring in some big time offensive line talent to beef up what is going to be a young defense that's coming right to the end of their contract years. And we can make a run in 2 years with that defense right at the point where it's about to be paid before you switch to a little bit of an offensive base while you're redrafting the defense. And if we can keep another first round pick, we can probably draft the heir apparent to Marquise Pouncey. To me, the Steelers need to start doing it the Steeler way, which is we're not giving people swan songs. We are here to be competitive forever. No offense, we've stopped doing that. We're now set where we're like, mediocre's okay. We're going to give these players their swan songs because they earned it. And if that's the way we want to play, cool. I have to change the way I view things as a fan. But everyone in the front office seems to think we want to be competitive. Explain to me how this isn't the best way to be competitive. I mean, maybe you can convince me that Ben does have it in him, but that's going to be a hard sell.
Still, it's definitely a hard sell. We'll have to wait and see. Again, we're getting more coaching staff worked out here, Donkey. There's a lot of different things that need to fall into place. I'm waiting to hear more about Ben's contract situation, how that all shakes out there. It's going to be exciting moving forward.
Vet men, I take him back. That's it.
We'll see. Those talks were supposed to happen pretty shortly here.
And if we get 2 first-round draft picks, I hate to say this, but we could do something that Arizona kind of did, but they did it over 2 years, which isn't necessarily taboo. That's double dip at a first-round quarterback.
Yeah, that's wishful thinking.
I mean, it's the most important position on the field, right?
Yes.
And it's the hardest position to find a good one at. Would we differ on that? I mean, honestly, how many quarterbacks out there do you feel are game changers? Like maybe 10?
If that.
That's what I mean. It's the most important position, and we're in a prime spot right now based off our cap hell to just blow it up. And I know you hate to hear me say that because I know you love Ben. I know you probably think Ben still could give us a chance. But at the end of the day, if we're ever going to blow it up, because think of how bad this hurts if we kick contracts in the next offseason. Think how bad this hurts if we're another year away from a quarterback. Because looking at the recent draft history, if you wait another year on a quarterback, you're making your rebuild now instead of a year or 2. 3 years down the road is when we rebuild. 3 years down the road is when we're competitive again. Do you know who we lose 3 years down the road?
Who's that, Donkey?
That would be Minka's no longer here. Devin Bush is in a contract year. I hate to say it, but you got to pull off the Band-Aid. You're talking Mapletron is probably already due to get paid. You're talking Deontay Johnson's gone. By the way, another guy I would consider twiddling in a trade, I don't know what he'd get you, is James Washington or Deontay Johnson, whichever one the Steelers don't like as much, because let's be honest, having 3 wide receivers is just kind of a over redundancy thing, and honestly, the Steelers need some veteranosity in there. We need to sign a veteran running back and a veteran wide receiver who knows what to do. I've never seen this sign that says "You must leave or die" before.
Good one. Yeah, those are all good points, Donkey, and we'll have plenty of time to continue to discuss, future Steelers here over the offseason. I'll be looking forward to hearing more news and seeing how some of these things in free agency shake out.
For all of you who have not watched our show before, that is called your basic Gingy Dodge. Gingy is the smoothest, calmest, I'm not going to take a spot type of person you'll ever meet. Does a really nice yin to the yang of Hot Take Donkey.
I require a lot of information before I make my mind up.
You require results before you make a decision. Let's be honest.
I require more information, Donkey.
I love it.
It's as you come off a tale of two seasons, as I've put it before, a Steelers fan of my magnitude can become a bit emotional. And we all know that Donkey emotion clouds your judgment. Okay.
Emotion is my judgment.
I still have vision. I still have visions on the first play of the Steelers playoff game this year, the ball being snapped all the way into the goddamn end zone. Okay. And when you have things like that clouding your perception, Donkey, you don't want to take a hard line on anything till it all signed, kind of. At least until April. Okay, let's hear. I want to see Mel Kiper's big board. I want to see these Steelers make these moves that you're talking about here. Okay.
I love it. That's what makes this show fun. I think it's the perfect compliment
to go from 23 to 9. Is that where we're at right now? 23.
No, we're not even trading 23. We're keeping 23 in my dream. We're going from our second round and fourth rounder with 2 players up to 9.
And Tuitt and DeCastro.
Well, we have to clear cap, and that's an easy way to clear cap. I think if you cut Ben and you trade those 2, you're under cap, to where we can actually sign our whole draft class.
We'll see if the Giants would probably be the most likely team to give that type of capital up. Denver
is the play.
Do you think Drew Lock's their guy?
If Drew Lock's not their guy, Elway might have to not just quit from being GM, but quit head of football operations. So, yeah, I don't think Elway's given up on Drew Lock because he's kind of still... He kind of gave up power, but he still kept power, and that's the guy he wanted. So, good luck. And I think Tuitt fits really well there, and I think they would be really interested in him. And Denver likes to run the ball into Castro up till this year where he's allegedly played injured the whole year. He's been great at it, but, just cap casualties happen, and why not make them happen instead of just cutting them or restructuring? Why not make them happen in a way that gets you something?
True that.
But, yeah, that was a good one. I like it. I like the ideas. I wish Gingy would have pushed some more ideas out there, but you know how Gingy is. We all do. Shout outs, Gingy, unless there's something else we have to touch on. I'm rude. Do we have anything else to touch on here?
No,
hit me with your shout outs.
My shout out came out earlier. Thanks to Marquise Pouncey for, over a decade of good Steelers football. Going to be sorely missed. Going to be a tough position to replace, and it's going to have an impact on Ben Roethlisberger's future too. Let's be honest, those two have been tied together for quite some time now, and again, that's why I'm having a tough time making decisions because we're still learning information about how this offseason's shaking out. Let me get back to me April 1st, and we'll have a better discussion.
If you're not thinking 3 steps ahead, you're going to be 2 steps behind in the NFL, though.
That's why I'm not a GM, Donkey.
Let's go. My shout-outs are to 2 Pitt boys down there who won the Super Bowl. Looking at you, Jordan Whitehead, and LaShawn McCoy, Shady, my dude.
Sneaking in there.
I forgot you were on the Buccaneers because you played so little, but you deserve back-to-back rings after all the work you put in. All those 1,000-yard seasons, all those being the top dog down there in Philly, you deserve these back-to-back Super Bowls. And Shady, I couldn't be more happy for you. You were probably the dude when I realized you were on the Buccaneers that I was most happy to see win another Super Bowl.
Good shout-outs, Donkey. I approve.
Gingy, last time we get to talk about a football game this season. From now on, it's just off-season stuff if we talk. Oh my gosh. Take us out right.
The swan song of the 2021 season, the tale of 2 seasons. Steelers Nation, wave them if you got them.